In this video, I'm going to cover with you the following subjects: how to set your goal, and then we will customize a plan for you to reach that goal. And then we will talk about the one-day method, which is a way to maximize your performance with the less effort possible. We will talk about routines. We are gonna talk about the best practices to make an effective to-do list. And lastly, we're gonna talk about how to deal with setbacks and failure. So, in other words, you're gonna get out from this video with a complete system to how to make the most out of your next year. With that being said, my name is TG and I'm going to navigate you through your self-improvement journey, so buckle up by hitting the subscribe button and let's get started. Before we start the video, I just want to make sure that we are on the same page. And I mean by that, I'm assuming from you as a viewer that you are somebody who have a realistic goal, a goal that is hard to reach, but it is realistic, something that is achievable. Okay, that's one. Two, I'm assuming that you are very interested in making this goal become a reality. And three, I am assuming that you are willing to do your part, because I'm gonna give you everything you need to get this thing done. So if we agree on all of that, grab a piece of paper and a pen and sit in a comfortable place. Maybe you want to get something to drink, and let's get started. What I want you to do now is to follow up with me and to write down what I'm asking you to write. My first question to you is, what is your goal? The answer to this question depends on the person who's watching. And people regarding to this question are three types. The first are people who know their goals. If you know your goal, just write it down. The second type are people who don't know their goals. We're gonna talk about them in a minute. And the third are people having too many goals. If you know your goal, then just write it down and listen to what I'm going to say to the other guys, because probably you are going to benefit from it. If you don't have a goal, look at your needs. Let your needs decide your goals. And let me explain that. Fulfilling your needs as a human being is essential for your mental, emotional stability. And if you feel good, then life will be good. But how can you feel good if you're sinking in debt, or if you're overweight and you don't like it, or if you're underweight and you don't like it? Having these needs will always keep bugging you. If you don't have a goal, let your needs decide your goal. I hope I'm making sense here. The third type of people is the person who have too many goals. And to that I must say that you can't, that's the reality of life, you can't look both ways in the same time. You just can't. You can maybe multitask multiple goals on the long run, but you have at first to go through the process at once with one goal. Then you will know what are the failures that you might expect before you even start. On the long run, the elites can do it. Even the elites can teach me and teach you how to exactly do it. There are a lot of people who have more than 10 goals they are working on the same time. But they have people to delegate it to, they have teams, they have complexity, they have experience, they have all of these things together before they set multiple goals. And to those type of people, list all of your goals on this page. Just list them all, and then after that, on the scale of 1 to 10, write the priority of each one of these goals. Some of them is going to be 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. Some others maybe 8, 7, 9. And at the end, choose the first one goal and stick to it, because you can't look both sides in the same time. With that being said, we just crafted the first step of setting your goal. Now we have to create a SMART goal out of it. How is that? The SMART goal setting is a universally used framework to set right goals. And it's very simple, it's not complicated, and we will go through it right now. SMART refers to 5 words. S for specific, M for measurable, A for attainable or achievable, R for realistic, and T for time bound. Let's go through each one of them, and your job is to apply this on your goal. So we make a SMART goal out of your goal. Let's get started. Specific. You have to be specific about your goal. You have to be able to write it in details. I'm gonna take a very simple example. Somebody who wants to lose weight will say, I want to lose weight in the next year. That's it. Now that's a goal. You can call that a goal. He knows the objective, but he doesn't know how exactly he will achieve it and how he will achieve it. But instead of that, if we try to apply the specification on it, this guy might say, I will lose 10 pounds in the next 3 months using cardio and signing up for a gym. So you see it, it's more detailed, so you could see it more, and as a person herself, they will be able to see how the execution on that will be. Is that realistic to their life or not? So you have to be specific for your own interest. Measurable. In this one, you have to decide how you will measure your success to that goal. So in the gym example, this guy wanted to lose 10 pounds in 3 months. So he got like a canvas that he can play with. Now, how you will measure your success? You will set milestones at each month, and you might want to reach like 3 pounds each month until you reach the 3rd month. So the point here is to find a way to measure your success towards your goal. Not just how to achieve it, the big picture, no, but also the milestones that will get you there. Achievable. Your goal should be achievable. You might find it a little bit weird, but some people pick unrealistic goals. Your goal have to be challenging, but it have to be realistic. It have to be hard to achieve, but it's possible. That's a very self-explained point, but I could understand why some people would be emotionally attached to unrealistic goals, because our goals are very important to us. It's personal. So when somebody tells you that you can't achieve that because it's not realistic, of course you will get upset, you might get sensitive, you might get even angry, but you have to look at it from a neutral point of view. Working at your goals means that you will spend time and effort and energy, and that's an investment from your precious resources. If your goal was not realistic, then you won't achieve it, even if you will work hard for it. So with that being said, I think it's very self-explained. Our goals have to be realistic, relevant. Your goal have to be relevant to your life. And at this point, you might want to give yourself like a basic reality check. Look at your life from the big picture. What added value I will gain in my personal life by achieving that goal? When you ask this question, you might find that this goal will bring you more joy, will bring you more opportunities, will bring you financial freedom, will bring you a healthy body, and a healthy body is a healthy mind. So these are the good goals that are relevant and build your life and make you grow and help you to become a better human. So make sure that your goal is relevant to your life. Time bound. Your goal have to be attached to a time horizon. You have to know, or at least estimate, when you will reach it. And with that I mean you have to set deadlines so you could monitor your progress. After finishing this stage and applying your goal on these 5 measurements, consider your goal as set and ready. You have a SMART goal, you have defined it at first, and now we will move into the next phase, which is to plan your goal. Alright, in this section guys, we are going to customize your plan to fit your goal on the canvas of the year. And people here are one of two. You might have planned before, and you might be someone who never planned before. If you have planned before, then you might know your thing and you had some experience planning. And I suppose that the people who have planned before, they actually know what they're doing and they might have their own system. What I'm going to share with you in this section is going to be very basic. I don't want to confuse you. So the people who never planned will benefit, of course, 100%, but the people who have planned before, I suppose that you have some experience about planning, you might know your thing. So if you have some ways that you find working, stick to them. But if you found anything new that you never used before, maybe you want to integrate it into your system. But this is going to be very simple, and let's get started with the planning. We have to set a start and a finish line. So let's say you are a student and your goal is to get the best grades possible or to become the first at your class. So the first day where you will have class at the year is the first day, and the last day that you will have a class in the year is the last day. Where if you are an employee, the start and the end of the year, the 1st of January and the last day of December is the start and the end days for you as an employee. And by the way, the workflow of the student is totally different than an employee, and it's totally different too from a freelancer. Everybody have another circumstances, but we all share the main points. We all have a timeline, and we all have some stations too. And what usually differentiate one from the other is the duration, the timing of the stations that you will go through. We will take the example of a student to demonstrate that. Passing the exams is the goal of the student. So the student have to focus there. Of course, everybody has some life obligations and other stuff to do, but when it comes to the New Year resolution plan, everything have to be separated from that. Your plan have to be clear and it have to be well defined. That's why we're doing that. So you will draw a line from the start to finish. You will try to define the stations that you will go through, and the exams will be somehow your battle as a student. And looking at this example, you can see that the exams comes after 3 months in the first period, where in the second period, the exams comes after 5 months. So maybe during the first 3 months, you will have to put more work, more study, like maybe 5 hours a day. Where in the second period, you might be more relaxed, flexible, maybe you will study only 2 hours a day. So sometimes you have to be strict, but other times you might be able to take some breath. Now that we have identified the big stations, now we have to create some smaller stations, mainly for evaluation. So your focus have to be at the current period, not the next, not like after 3 months, what should I do in the last week before the exams? How should I plan after 5 months? You shouldn't ask these questions now. You could write them down, but you shouldn't think about them in details. Your whole focus have to be centered at this period, at the current period. And once you reach the end of it, in other words, reaching the evaluation point, then you sit with yourself, review your goal, and evaluate your performance, and you see if you have learned some lessons, some insights, and then you start the next period, and so on and so forth. Maybe you have noticed that with this way, you are forced to plan only for the next short-term period until the next station, and that will allow you to consider your current emotional state. Life can be tough sometimes. Maybe you are going through some financial situation, or maybe a breakup. These things can be hard, so you can plan the next period to suit your emotional and life state. And that of course will help you on the execution. And the exams period for this student, it won't be as hard as the others. He's gaining some experience along with the stations that he's going through. He's evaluating his studying, his performance as a whole. So it will be exciting for him because he's following a clear plan. Now when the second half comes, as you can see that the evaluation stations are not as close to each other as in the first half. In this situation, you want to put between each two one more reflection session. And what you will do is to reflect, to evaluate your performance. And again, I want to emphasize, guys, that we're talking about the life of a human. You will go through challenges, obstacles, problems from the outside world, things that you can't control when they come and how they will come. Having these points is like a security layer for your goal. Because when you find yourself at this point, you sit, you evaluate, what's my goal? Am I getting there? Am I following the right plan? Am I performing good? So you're steering your mind and making sure that you will stick to it all along the way until the end of the year. And that was for the student. It's a very simple plan. Now let's go and take the example of the employee. And by the way, the employee life is much more simpler than the student, to be honest, because your life is oriented around a timeline of start of the month, end of the month. So what you will basically do is to split your year into 4 quarters. And at the end of each month, you will sit, reflect, and evaluate your performance and write the plan for the next month. It is that simple. As you can see, guys, until now it's a very simple way to plan, because we will get into more details in the next chapters, and more specifically in the one-day method. Because if you look at the way how you can influence reality, you can't do much about the future. Like, let's take an example. If you want to plan what to do after 10 months, you might write the big picture, but you don't know what's going to come up in your life after 5 months from now. So writing a specific plan should be always for the short-term period, the next station. Last note on planning. It's a very important point that everybody have to understand. Our life is a combination of ups and downs. Sometimes you have time to study, you have time to work, you have time to do whatever you want. But other times you find that the outside world might interfere with your plans and you might stop working. I mean by that, maybe it's like a financial crisis, maybe a breakup, maybe a problem with family, you name it. Life is full of problems. So the moral of the story, when your life is stable, don't take it for granted and use every moment that you can use, because the hard times are probably coming. That's it for planning. Let's get now into the secret of life. You might be asking yourself now, like, what he's talking about? The one-day method is the secret of life? Okay, how is that? The one-day method is explained by the following. If you really want to influence reality, you can't influence it by thinking about the future or remembering the past. Your influence upon those two is 0%. You can plan technically for the future, so you can influence it by like 10%. But the past is gone. But your direct sphere of influence is upon today. So when it comes to execution, when it comes to action, when it comes to influencing reality, it's all upon today. So you have to focus only on today. And that's, my friend, is truly the secret of life. If you want to become someone who is extraordinary in whatever he or she do, you can't get there by any means without focusing and living within the limits of the day. And let's distinguish between results and feeling good. And I mean by that, you could just sit and imagine yourself becoming Cristiano Ronaldo, or imagine yourself like living with Elon Musk on Mars. Whatever hypnotizes you, man. If that suits you, then do it. But all of that nonsense of thinking about the future and remembering the past won't get you anywhere. When it comes to execution, when it comes to results, all you got is today, and you have to focus on that day. Period. So it's kind of a mindset that you live your day with. There is no point of thinking about the future or remembering the past. And by the way, most people are living between these two, let's say, illusions. Because you're wasting the present to think about where you could go, what you could achieve, or what you have lost, what you are regretting. Like, you're wasting the reality, you're wasting the present, you're wasting everything. So the right way to adopt this mindset, you refuse to engage with thoughts or self-talk about the future or the past. You tell yourself that all I got is today, and I have a goal, I have a plan, I have everything. Today is my job. Today is the most productive day that I will be living. It's that simple. So you treat your plan as a contract that you have written, and you follow it just like you're doing a job for somebody else. Maybe even what you are doing is meaning to you more than the job that you're doing. If you're disciplined there, you have to be disciplined here. So with that being said, let's now move into the routine, the habits that you will adopt and integrate inside of your day. Very simple activities that will turn you into a productivity beast. And after that, I will go with you through the to-do list, which is the best method to replicate the one-day method. So let's get started. A routine, in simple words, is a way to create a day that you want to live. What I'm going to share with you are 5 activities that if you have in your day, you will not just be a productivity machine. You will be someone who is engaged like he never been before in doing what serves her interest. What are those 5 habits? 1. Set a fixed time to sleep and a fixed time to wake up. Meditate, exercise daily, and learn for your goal, and work daily on your personal goal. Before I explain to you why each one of them is fundamental and fatal to your success, I just want to share with you that those are not cherry-picked. In simple words, if these activities get into your routine, you will become unstoppable. Let's get into them. Setting a fixed time to wake up and a fixed time to sleep. Why? First, you can't know when your day is going to start and when it's gonna finish without defining these 2 points. The second reason is while you are sleeping, your body and mind go through maintenance, storing information. So the things that you have learned during the day get stored while you are sleeping. So while you are sleeping, your body is in maintenance. And while you are awake, you function if that maintenance was as good as it should be. Your body will repair itself, but not when you sleep in random times. To get the most out of your sleep, you have to set a fixed time to sleep and a fixed time to wake up. That will help you mainly to reset your body clock, and if your body clock is reset, you will fall asleep easy and you will wake up without even waiting for the alarm to wake you up. And that's sadly what most people are not experiencing nowadays. They fall asleep while they don't want to sleep, and they wake up like forcing themselves to wake up. So they're living in the total opposite reality. So that's the first and the most important activity. to set a fixed time to sleep and a fixed time to wake up. Meditate. And I mean by meditation not the mindfulness meditation. And here is the reason. There are a lot of recent studies. They have discovered, scientists, and I will put the researches in the description below, that the mindful meditation, if you have done it for long enough, at some point it might bring you trauma, stress and anxiety, and remembering old bad events, like things that were severe to you, you will just capture them again. So there are a lot of disadvantages of this kind of meditation. But what I mean by meditation is to sit for like 10 minutes and to encourage yourself. When we were kids, we used to get the encouragement from the parents. Okay, your mom, your dad used to cheer you up. When you fall, you tried to walk, you fall down, they encouraged you to keep trying. And the environment back then was supportive. The environment was cheering for you. But when you grow up, the environment is totally different. Nobody is supporting you. Nobody is encouraging you. There are even many enemies that are waiting you to fall down. So, a daily ritual to sit for at least 10 minutes to encourage yourself. Just feed yourself up with all sorts of words of encouragement that you can do it and you will do it. The more dependent you are on the outside world, the weaker you will be. And vice versa. The less dependent you are on the outside world, the stronger you will become. So that was the second activity. And the third activity is to do daily sport. And I know that some people sadly find that a little bit like, daily exercise, isn't that too much? No, it's not. I'm gonna tell you why. Whenever we think about sport, we just capture someone who's going to the gym, lifting heavy weights, and spending hours of the day just like living this lifestyle, which is false. What you're seeing on the social media is a perspective of reality. If you want the benefits of sport, don't go to the gym. Because putting on your shoulders this obligation of going to the gym is kind of setting yourself up to failure. I'm not supposing that you can't go to the gym, but most people can't stick to go to the gym because going to the gym is an obligation. Like changing my clothes, leaving my house, driving the car, going to the gym. It is a process, that's all I'm trying to say. But if you wanted the same benefits, maybe even more, you're not gonna waste your time, you're not gonna waste your efforts, you're gonna lose these pounds or you're gonna gain these pounds just in home, just by doing 25 minutes of daily sport every single day. And I'm gonna tell you about one benefit about that. Your overall mood is directly affected by exercising. If you just exercise for a month and see how your days are going to be lived, like the mental state, your overall mood is heavily affected by exercising. And the fourth activity is to work on your goal. That's why we are here, right? So I don't have to explain it anymore. And the fifth activity is to learn constantly on daily basis about your goal. Because your growth is determined by learning. Knowing more about your goal is essential to grow your knowledge to get to that goal. These 5 habits are very simple, very straightforward, and if you integrate them in your routine, you're gonna be unstoppable. With that being said, let's move now into writing your to-do list and writing a functional to-do list. So let's find that out. A to-do list is known as this list of tasks with boxes. But I argue that there are some benefits that when you see in the to-do list, you will never unsee again. First, why the to-do list? It is a machine that will keep your engine running. What do I mean by that? I said before, life is ups and downs. And sometimes life will hit you. You'll stop working. You will get busy for a day or 2 or maybe even 3. If you're relying on your head just to follow the plan, when you come back after the problems fades away, you won't exactly know where you stopped. But when you have a to-do list, you'll just pick it up from where you stopped. And that's enough. But we have a second reason. If I were to ask you, what's better? To think about every next move or just to follow a map without even thinking? We all would love to follow a map, especially if it gets us where we want to get. And that's exactly what a to-do list does. I told you before, at the start of this section, that the one-day method is the only way to influence reality. Your plan, yes, it's effective, but it is for the future. Who knows what happens in the future? But all I can influence is today. So I will just follow the to-do list and I will purely influence reality within this day. So with that said, we know now why it is important. Now I will go through a couple of tips to make sure that you will write a good to-do list. Maybe you're aware of it by now, but I advise that you go old school. Write on paper. Not on your phone, not on your iPad, not on your computer. Why? Because these are devices that are viruses of distractions. Like, it's very easy to get distracted by a notification while you are reading your to-do list. No, we don't want that. Especially the to-do list is something that will get you to a place where you desire. And you could also read about some articles that suggest that traditional to-do lists, old school to-do lists, are much better to reach your goals. Be totally honest what you will write on this to-do list. And I mean by that, guys, we seem to overestimate what we can do on the short term, and we underestimate what we can do on the long term. A lot of people say that I want to study like today 7 hours. I want to do X and Y and Z today. But in reality, they don't have that capacity of time and focus and energy to do that in this day. So they have to set their expectations right. Otherwise, they're setting themselves up to failure before they even start. So just be honest with yourself. I can do only 2 hours today. So, okay, that's challenging. That's amazing. That means that you might end the day with a full checked to-do list. So that's a good way to start it, because what you do every single day gets normal. The first day at any job is the hardest. The second month at any job is just another day, right? So you could take more after 2 months. Think about that. Write your to-do list from the evening before. Before you go to sleep, write the to-do list of tomorrow. Why? Because sometimes you are going to wake up where you don't feel like it. And there are going always to be those 2 or 3 tasks that you don't want to do anyways. So, because they are just boring. If you woke up in this mindset, it will be much harder on you to do these tasks, so it will be much easier for you to skip them. Where if you have written your to-do list before you go to sleep, when you wake up, you won't care if you don't feel like it today. You have a to-do list to follow. That's it. Make your measurement of success determined by ending this to-do list. Like, if you don't think about the past and the future, and you're focused about today, and you have written your plan, and you know your goal, and you know your tasks, and you have been honest with yourself while writing this to-do list, then you're not motivating yourself. You're actually being real with yourself if you have made your measurement of success to finish this to-do list. So we talked about the 5 habits, we talked about the to-do list, and that concluded the 1-day method, which is the only way to influence reality. Thinking about the future and thinking about the past won't help you. Actually, they are going to destroy your process, now or later. So, if you really want results, you have to think about today and to focus on today. And that's what we have talked about. And by the way, guys, I have a full comprehensive masterclass that focuses on creating this kind of day. And actually, all of the advices that I have shared with you today are just glimpses from this masterclass. It took me 2 years to develop, according to 3 main scientific fields. The first one is the CBT, the Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, which is the scientific study of how to influence the human behavior. And the second one is the hero's journey, which is the way to ignite the inner motivation within you. I live motivated 24/7. How is that? Because my motivation is coming from within, because I have understood how to establish that. And you will learn that within this masterclass. And lastly, the last pillar, gamification, which will turn your pursuit, your journey, into a literal game. So, if you want to follow this assistance, it's available from the first link in the description below. If you're interested in that, it will be the best investment you will make. With that being said, let's move now into the last part of this tutorial, which is how to deal with failure and setbacks. I argue that what I'm going to share with you now is overlooked by 90% of the population. To be honest. And you will understand now. First of all, you never fail at something that you're doing since years. You fail usually at things that you're just a beginner at. And that's not a coincidence actually. So, when you learn something, what happens exactly that you are being exposed to something that you're not familiar with its nature. So when you are learning something new, there is some time that will come where you want to attempt to implement what you have learned. And there is a high risk of failing at this attempt because you're just getting started. What happens with people when they fail at doing anything is that they get emotionally attached by failing. People don't expect to fail. So when they fail, they get crushed emotionally and they stop. What they don't realize that what the most people do, what they don't realize that when they failed, their failure have showed them the error that they have made, have showed them the mistake that they have fallen into. So if you put your emotions aside for a moment, I know it sucks and it will keep sucking. It sucks for me too. But that's the way how you deal with it. You put your emotions aside and you investigate what actually happened. You will find a naked truth. You will find an error that you have made. It might be a very silly mistake. What you have to do is to keep your emotions aside and understand the mistake you made, understand how to correct it, retry the attempt. Most likely, in most cases, you will never fail again at this thing. You might fail and you will fail at the next attempts in other situations. That's how life works. You attempt, you fail, you learn, you retry, and then you adjust, and that's how you keep growing. Just by knowing this fact, you will know how to deal with failure. When you fall down, investigate what happened and tolerate these feelings, because with time, these feelings, going through this emotional pressure and not allowing it to affect your behavior, not allowing it to stop you, will result on the long term to establish your mental toughness. So, what you have learned from this point, two lessons. The first one is that failure is a lesson. It's just a harsh one. And the second thing is not letting your emotions guide your behavior. In other words, not letting the bad emotions of failure stopping you from retrying will turn on the long term into mental toughness, like pure mental toughness. You will go through stressful situations and you will never give a damn about it because you have been there much times before. With that being said, you have defined your goal, you created a smart goal out of it, you have created a plan for it, and you know now what is the one-day method. All of that creates a system for you to get the best out of the next year. And I'm totally honest with you when I say you've got everything you need to rock in 2023. And also guys, if you'd like further assistance, if you'd like a full system, if you'd like a system that gives you the ability to ignite your inner motivation, to have the ability to influence your behavior, like to understand your psychology, your thoughts, how it works, your emotions, how it works, your behavior, how it works, and to create meaning out of your life in the masterclass, don't waste the chance because it will be the best investment you would make. You could check it, of course, in the first link in the description below. Other than that, I wish you the best of luck, and this is your Game Navigator TG signing out. Long live heroes. Brace yourself. Game on.